Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Friday's episode of Fire Talk. I am your host for tonight, Erica Bishop. We're expecting Bishop Coleman to come on at any moment. He just had to take care of some business. So, y'all pray for Bishop to get here safely and soundly so he can join us for this episode of Fire Talk. So, today, we are finally going to cover a subject that was very popular this summer. Everybody knows what happened with Will and Jada in August and their entanglement. And so to continue on our series with Michael Todd's book, Relationship Goals, Bishop decided that he wanted to discuss the chapter 7 that is entitled All Tied Up, aka Entanglements. So, I'm pretty sure everybody out there watching can relate to an entanglement, or as we call it in the church, a soul tie. So just to give a little review on how Michael Todd described chapter 7, All Tied Up. He started out the chapter by giving an example of a couple that him and his wife were counseling called, their names were Caleb and Chloe. And so Caleb and Chloe were married, but Caleb was having an entanglement with Jasmine, his ex-girlfriend. And so Caleb found himself tied or entangled with Jasmine. And when Chloe found out, she went through the roof, okay? All types of juicy tea and gossip and shade and everything that one could imagine could happen. And so during the counseling session, Pastor Todd mentioned that, he pointed out to Caleb that, you've got to break this soul tie apart from Jasmine because you've become emotionally tied, physically tied, spiritually tied, and verbally tied. And I'm pretty sure there are plenty people out there that can relate to being in an entanglement, aka a soul tie. And it's a strange thing because we don't look at intercourse or sex in that matter. We're just looking to satisfy our current need, like, oh, they look good, he looks good, I want to go to bed with them. But this chapter really helped enlighten me to understand that having intercourse or being tied up with someone is way more serious than we really give it credit for. And in the book, Michael Todd, he likened it to marriage. And he brought up a very valid point. He said that, in the old days, when people were considered married, it was not a piece of paper. It wasn't a license. It wasn't a ring. It was after they had intercourse that they became married. And so when I looked at it from that perspective, I was like, you know what? That makes sense because there were no courts back in the Bible days. There were no judges. There was no piece of paper. It was in the Bible. It says, and he knew her, and she knew him, and that was a nice way of saying they got it on in the bedroom. And I wish I could look at Facebook because my Facebook is tripping right now. But I would definitely love for you all to put in the comments or put hearts up if you can relate to being in entanglement. I'm on YouTube right now, and I see that Latoya Manning has said, yes, illegal soul ties and the spirits that attach are real. Yes, they are. And breaking a soul tie can be a lifelong process. And soul ties can occur with different things. It's not just in the bedroom. As Pastor Todd pointed out in his book, you can be in a soul tie with not only a male or female that you're having intercourse with, but you can have a soul tie with your parents, siblings, other relatives, church members, neighbors, co-workers, teammates. And so I like the example that he gave in the Bible when he spoke about David and Jonathan. You know, they were knit, or they were tied to one another, but they were tied in friendship. So much so that when Saul, Jonathan's father, wanted to kill David, Jonathan stepped in the middle of his own father, and he would not allow him to kill his friend. And so that's just a perfect example of how friends and people outside of the person that you're in your bed with, you can also be tied. And there are godly soul ties and non-godly soul ties. And I'm pretty sure the ones that we would like to get information about in this day and age are the ungodly soul ties. So let's just go back to this summer. Let's be messy for a quick second. And when the situation happened with Will and Jada in August, I felt like the reason why August reacted the way that he did was because he had become knit with Jada. You know, he put out an album all about it. He kept making references to it. And Jada had gotten to the point where she didn't want to be entangled with him anymore. It was what it was for her. She moved on. Her and Will decided that they were going to stay together. And I kind of felt like that August knew in the beginning what he was getting into. And so he should have expected that she would make that maneuver. But once again, that's the whole purpose of the conversation that we're having now, is when you're tied up, regardless of what makes sense or what you know to be true or what behaviors you know could arise from this situation, when you're tied, a soul tie can cause you to react and do things that you would not normally do. You know, it could cause you to be a completely different person. And in this chapter, Pastor Todd said that, you know, it is like a wedge between you and your relationship with God. And I likened it to kind of like a tug of war. He said the person that you are soul tied with, you know, is pulling you in one direction, and God is trying to pull you in a completely different direction. And just imagine you being the person in the middle, and you're being pulled left and right, and you know, you just get exhausted. And people don't think that spiritual exhaustion is real, but it is a very real thing. You can become tired in your body. It can show up on your face physically and all of that. And so, and really, to be honest, the person who showed physical symptoms of being worn out from the entanglement was really Will. Everybody commented on how unhappy he looked. But I didn't take it as him looking unhappy. I looked at him as like he was tired. Like, you know, rumors have been flying about the two of you for so long. Clearly, Will and Jada had already resolved their issues and had already gone to counseling and done what they needed to do in the privacy of their marriage well before she brought it to the red table. Today, we at the brown table. But it just seemed that he was more over it than she was. And, you know, that's just another example of how that entanglement and soul tie can just pull you so many different ways. And it involves the people around you as well. And I don't think that we really realize how the people around us are affected by our decisions and our soul ties, aka entanglements. And so I just want to get into a little bit of what the soul is made up of. The soul is made up of 3 parts: the mind, the will, and the emotions. Your mind is how you think, your will is what you desire, and your emotions display how you really feel. And the collaboration of these 3 things can direct your entire life. And now, going back to the example of Will and Jada, when you consider these 3 things, the 3 aspects of the soul and how they can direct your entire life, I'm pretty sure 20 plus years ago, or maybe 30 years ago, when they first got together, they never imagined that they would have to sit at a red table and explain what was happening in the privacy of their marriage. Whether Will gave the green light for it to occur or not, I'm pretty sure they did not ever imagine that they would be walking down that road. And so that's just an outward example of how your soul can just really direct your life to different paths that you didn't expect to go in. And some other examples are baby daddies, baby mamas. You never expected to have a child with this person, but now you're forever knit to this man or this woman because of a decision that you made one night or for however long that you decided to date this person or be known with this person. That's how we're going to word that today. And so when someone's soul is exposed, it could be very influential to your life. We already went over that. And how do soul ties happen? Because a lot of us don't know exactly how we got caught up with this person, or why am I still here so many years later with this same individual going through the same stuff, and it doesn't seem like I can break away from it. A soul tie can happen when a person allows his or her soul to become attached to someone or something. And so when I read that, I was like, something? I thought that soul ties only could occur with another human being. But I stand corrected. Soul ties can also happen with substances like drugs, alcohol. And he even gave an example of the movie Castaway. How many people have seen the movie Castaway? If you have, just put some hearts up and likes and all of that. But in Castaway, to give a quick synopsis of the movie for those that haven't seen it, Tom Hanks ended up becoming stranded on an island by himself for, I can't even remember how many years, but he ended up being stranded on an island. And so, excuse me, in order to keep himself from going completely insane, psycho, he befriended a volleyball, the Wilson volleyball, the brand Wilson, and he named it Wilson. And he was knit to Wilson. And how do we know that he was knit with Wilson? Well, because remember the scene when he lost Wilson, or Wilson was about to escape from him and he went berserk? That is an example of how you know you might be tied up to something. When you feel that I can't function without this thing or this person, you might have a soul tie and you might be tied to that person. I just want to take a second to go to the comments. Latoya Manning, thank you for commenting and participating. Yeah, it is a trap. She said it's a trap. The devil will always tell you how to get in but never get out. It all starts as a thought, then your feelings, and attached to your will. Yes, ma'am, that is the process verbatim. That's exactly how it happens. It always starts as a thought, because go back to the garden. He planted the thought in Eve's mind. Did he really say that? And then she thought about it for long enough, and then she got in her feelings about it like, well, wait a minute. How come God is the only person that can know everything? I want to know some stuff too. And then she attached it to her will like, I'm going to eat this apple. I'm going to go on and do the thing because I need to know everything that God knows, because why would he want to keep stuff from me? Why wouldn't he want me to know what he knows? And lo and behold, she got tricked, and here we are today. And thank God for Jesus. That's all I can say about that. And so, a lot of pastors and preachers and people in the church, they always talk about soul ties, soul ties, soul ties. And then they always say, well, you know, you need to get out of that. You need to get out of that. But no one is really teaching exactly how one escapes from that soul tie, or how does one break free. And I just wanted to give a couple of points, not a whole lot, just a couple of points of how one can get free from that soul tie and get deliverance. I'm trying to get to my notes here. The main way to break off a soul tie is to break up with the person and or thing. completely sever the relationship. And he said to run. He said, if you're in a club and someone starts shooting, if you felt that your life and your soul was in danger, you would run. He said, take it as an offense to your destiny and run, exit stage left, as quickly and fast as possible. And he was also saying that, oh, wait, lost my page here. Okay, here we go. He was saying that after you've run, cut it. You need to cut it. Cut the relationship quickly. Call it what it is, a thief, because it's robbing you of your peace, robbing you of your destiny, robbing you of your relationship with Christ. And God really doesn't want to be separated from us at all. And so the example that he gave, and I never thought about it this way, he said, you want to cut it off because everything that you do, God is right there with you. And, I know we like to think that, God is a being in the sky far away looking down. And I'm not saying that that's not the truth. But when he presented it as such a way, he said, when you are doing the thing that you're not supposed to be doing, God is right there with you. He's watching the porn with you. He's, going over that lady's house with you. He's doing that right with you. And so whatever your eyes saw, his eyes also saw. And just imagine if God was standing there right there while you were doing the act. Would you still do it? I'm thinking that you probably wouldn't. And that just kind of gives you a brand new perspective of what you're doing and make you cognizant of, wow, what if God was really standing right here while I was doing this? I probably don't need to be doing this. The next thing he said was to confess it. God can't heal what you don't reveal. And we know that the scripture says we overcome by what? The blood of the Lamb, which has already been shed, and you got it, the word of our testimony. And I guess we wouldn't necessarily consider confessing it as a testimony, but at the same time, you're talking to a person about this and you're getting freedom. Have you ever just had a conversation with someone about some things that were weighing you down, and after you had the conversation, you felt lifted up, like you felt like a burden was lifted up off of you? That is essentially how I perceived what he was saying about confess it. You don't have to go to the Catholic priest and try to stuff in that little booth and say, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Some examples that were given were going to a therapist or a counselor, or talking with your spouse or a trusted friend, or your pastor, going somewhere and getting into a safe place where you know that what you're about to say will not leave the confines of that room. And so I was just like, well, yeah, I guess that does make sense, because if these are the two ways that we overcome, then confessing it is definitely, it falls under that umbrella of the word of our testimony. And, just, you don't have to get all deep with that. Just say, hey, man, I did some things that I wasn't supposed to do. Can you help me? Do you got some advice for me? The next way to get deliverance from it is to cancel it. Remove all signs that it ever existed. Get rid of everything that connects you with the thought of that person. Not just the person, the thought of the person. That means get rid of love letters where he sprayed his cologne on. You be like, oh, this was my boo. Oh, he had on that Perry Ellis. Oh, I'm going to keep these forever. Nope. Toss those, burn them. Get rid of the teddy bears. Get rid of the iPad, the Jordans. Get rid of her toothbrush that she left at your house. Even get rid of the hairs in the sink that they left there. Wash that down the drain. You have to get rid of everything, because what can happen is you can become triggered by those signs and smells and memories and and I know that the memory of your mind, that's a place where God has to come in and scrub the walls of your mind. But in the physical, you can also do your part by scrubbing your house clean of any and everything that reminds you of that individual. And the last point that he gave was to cast it. And so a soul tie is a very powerful, powerful thing. And it could seem impossible to break, especially when you've been knit with this person for so long, so many years. They've become a part of your spirit, they've become a part of your routine, and they've become a part of you. But I like what he said here. He said, this is where you cast your cares onto God, because he careth for you. And this is where you just say, okay, Lord, look, this man is fine. I cannot. Or this girl is fine. I just can't. You're going to have to help me. And so this is where God comes in and picks up the slack and carries your burdens for you. Like, I'm going to help you with this thing because I realize that this is too big for you to handle. But we do know that with God, all things are possible. And so he said, throw that weight that you can't carry onto God. And like I just said, cast all your cares on him because he cares for you. And so I know this has been a very quick episode of Fire Talk, but sometimes in order to be effective, you don't need to be long and drawn out. You just have to get to the point, get to your points, and move on. But never think that because you are caught up in a soul tie that you can't be delivered. Don't ever think that because you've been caught up or entangled in something that God doesn't love you. That's why he has asked us to cast all of our cares on him, because he does love us. The scriptures also tell us that nothing, no thing can separate us from the love of God, not even a soul tie. And so, real quick, I just want to give a real life example, not even using Will and Jada, but I knew a lady that her soul tie was with substances. And the process that she went through literally was just this. She decided, I don't want that anymore. And she immediately cut it. She changed her phone number. She changed her hangouts. She changed everything about herself. Those old friends that she used to hang out with and do substances with, she didn't hang out with them anymore. She moved to a whole new location in the city that she was living in, and she just completely separated herself, threw all of that stuff out that she had at her house, all the paraphernalia, got a new job, just a whole brand new attitude, new clothes, didn't even want to wear the old clothes that they wore when they were doing what they were doing. Just completely changed everything, and took the time to run after God and get in his presence and pray. It was a lot of prayer. It was a lot of fasting. It was a lot of reading of God's word. And it took some years. It took some years even after she had cut it, cast it, confessed it, all of those things. It took some years for that thing to be completely uprooted, but it was. And, just know that it was the love of God that kept her going. She drew nigh unto God, and he drew nigh right back to her. And the same can go for you. The same goes really for Will and Jada. God loves them. He loves you as well. Don't let your past or the things that you've gotten yourself tangled up in make you feel like God doesn't love you or you can't change or you can't break free. You can. You can break free, and God is with you in the fight. He will fight with you. He will help you, when you feel weak, like, oh, wait a minute, I just walked by the cosmetic department and the perfume that she used to wear just hit my nose. Oh, Lord, I'm about to have a meltdown. Pray in that moment and just ask God, like, Lord, help me because I'm still weak in this area. And God will send help. I've been there myself where I was weak in other areas, and I just was like, God, help me, please. And he just sent instant help. So, again, put your trust in God. Lean not into your own understanding. Lean into God. Lean into his love. Lean into his arms. And know that there is nothing that he can't deliver you from or nothing that he can't pull you up from. And so that is all that I have for today. I did see Bishop come in, but I'm not sure that he's going to come on. And so I'm just going to go on and do the announcements for him. Same thing every Sunday. Make sure you come to church. We're going to be here live in living color this Sunday at 10:30 a.m. And you can also watch it live stream on Facebook and YouTube. So make sure that you are tuned in Sunday. And as always, every Tuesday night is Bible class, and you can tune in right there. Same bat time, same bat channel. So this has been this Friday's Fire Talk, and I've been your solo host, Erica Bishop. And you all be blessed and be encouraged and have a great week and weekend. God bless.